Sorry, not sorry. Today I'm going to kind of go into teacher mode, but that's kind of my safe space. So we're going to use this interesting principle to talk about how we can make our YouTube videos just that much better with very little time and effort. If you don't know who I am, I'm Martine Wilson, and what I'm doing is I'm building this studio and I'm getting my workflow figured out so I can create YouTube videos because I also create videos in a whole lot of other contexts, and now I think it's time for me to start doing this. So if you are in a similar position, or if you're just interested in how, somebody gets started with doing this whole thing, like and subscribe. Like, subscribe. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the Pareto Principle. The Pareto Principle is a really interesting concept that comes from economics and finance, and the idea is that in many situations, 20% of the effort creates 80% of the results. Let me kind of explain what that means. You see it everywhere. Probably 20% of your friends, you spend 80% of your time with them, you tell them things, they understand you better than all the rest. Or if you study for an exam for like 20% of what you would normally study, but you just focus on the really important parts, you'll probably get at least an 80. And an 80 is a B. B is pretty good. Here what we're going to do is we're going to create thumbnails for our YouTube channels, and we're going to do a 20% effort in order to get an 80% result. Because I don't need, let me put it that way, I don't need an A+ thumbnail. I need a B thumbnail is fine for me. B is just great. So what I need to remember, and what you need to remember if you're going to do this same thing, is you have to focus on what's important. And what that means is I want to have pretty good branding. I want to have information that's going to be attractive to people. I want people to be able to see it and understand it really fast, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I want it to be something like this. If you take a look, this is my thumbnail, which I think that you clicked on, and it's good enough, right? Like you can see over here, if you look around my head, there's some artifacts. Maybe my hand is a little awkward, like, you can't totally see it, but there's this rocket thing down here. I'll show you in another view. Nothing about it is perfect, but it's good enough. And so what we're going to do is talk about how it is that we can create something that is good enough in very, very, very little time. Very, very little time. I'm trying to avoid the problem here where my instinct when I'm doing something like this is like I jump in and I spend hours and hours and hours researching every little bit, trying to get everything perfect. We must avoid perfection. And I spend too much time for very, very little additional benefit over that B grade that would have been just enough. So let me show you how I came up with this, and I did this in like 20 minutes, and I think that like as I'm going forward, I'm going to be able to do it in more like 5. The first thing that I did was I chose a tool. And so when I decided to land on this tool, I knew that I don't want to have to spend a lot of time doing stuff like graphic design because I don't know Photoshop. I can't, even if I couldn't use Photoshop, I wouldn't be able to make anything that looks good without spending like days and weeks, and then even then I would probably have to send it off to somebody. No good. So what I did is I used this website called Canva, and what they do is they primarily, it's like a design tool, but it works online, so everything is kind of in the cloud. You don't have to worry so much about files. But the other thing that's really important and really powerful is if you take a look, this is just a bunch of different elements that somebody put together, and it comes from a template. Let me show you the template that I used. It was this, right? So I just took this like YouTube template. You can see here, YouTube thumbnail templates, that it's really just a very simple template that has a few different elements. You'll notice that I got rid of some and I added some, and the main thing is that you change this face. Let me show you one more thing. Oh, I popped that up. They have bazillions of templates that you can choose from. So what I did is I just went through here. You can filter whatever. There's gazillions of templates that you can pick. You find one that you think that you can adapt, and then you use it, and it looks good. So you'll notice that mine is actually pretty different from the attractive lady talking on her phone. And the main thing is that I needed to have this image here, the image of me giving the thumbs up. So how did I get that image? It was actually pretty easy. I mean, I have this camera that I'm recording with, the ZV-E10. I took some photos, and then I did some funny stuff with them. The first thing, let me just show you what I originally got. Here's the final output, and this is the photo that I took. I know it's silly, but that's fine because it's a thumbnail. You want it to be kind of crazy. But you'll notice that I have all this like background here. It's not really going to work. So I need to do something that is going to get rid of that background, and then I can put it on my thumbnail the way that I want to do it. Okay, that's actually really easy to do today. Let me show you what I did. And what I did, I just popped over to this other website that is called clipdrop.co, and what it is a artificial intelligence image generator, and it can make images and it can modify images. So I used it for two things. I'm going to show you really quickly what I did. I needed to remove my background of my image, so I went to this thing called replace background. I didn't do remove background. No, I use that for another thing. And I'm not going to actually do the whole thing because when my computer's recording OBS, it goes really slow. But you just click and drag your file there, and it's able to remove the background very quickly and replace it with something. And in this case, what I asked for was just a gray gradient, gray and red gradient. Let me show you here. So you can see that it's got me with the sort of gray around my body and then the red farther out. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect. This doesn't look very good. I don't know. There's things about it that I don't love, but it's fine. The other thing that I used it for, let me show you again if we can take a look at that website, is it's got these other tools that you can use. So this is a replace background tool. If you click here, you can also just do SDXL, Stable Diffusion XL. And I just typed in a rocket, so on and so forth. Very easy to do that. And then I removed the background of that rocket. And let me show you what I got in that situation. I had it generate this kind of cartoonish rocket. Then I went into that other tool that was remove background, not the replace background, because here I just wanted to have this plain, nothing, like it's like there's no pixels there, it's clear. And then I can put this rocket onto my thumbnail, no problems. And so I was able to insert those here. Let me see. Yeah, you can see that I have this little rocket here with no background. Looks great. You can see that I was able to fit this in, and I think it looks good enough. So in the end, this took me 20 minutes. I think that in the future, it'll take me 5, because all that I'm going to have to do is change this text and change this background and maybe change this little, I don't know, I just kind of made that up. Maybe that'll always stay the same. So in the future, it's going to be a little machine for me to make a thumbnail for every video that I'm working on, which is a really great demonstration of the Pareto Principle and why it's our friend. Normally people, especially people like me, we have this instinct that we want it to look really, really good before it's out there and the public can see it. But remember, perfect is the enemy of the good. And you're not going to know what's perfect, because perfect for you is probably going to have all these little pixels in exactly the right place, but that it doesn't mean it's going to achieve your objective, and your objective is for people to click on it more. The only way to find out if what you have done is perfect is to get it out there in the world and see if it works. And so that's what I'm going to be able to do. In this like very short amount of time that I made this thumbnail, I can now get rid of all that additional time that I would normally take to perfect things, get it out there, see how it performs, and then make my changes to future thumbnails based on that performance. So look for Pareto Principle applications whenever you're doing things that are sort of optimizing your channel or aspects of your channel or your script writing or the branding, like almost everything that you're doing, especially the stuff that's a little bit outside of your field of expertise, is probably going to have an 80-20 Pareto Principle rule where you put in 20% of the effort to get 80% of the result, and 80% is enough. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, the video's over now. That's all. I don't have anything else. You can click back or whatever. Okay.